I used to believe a man's worth was what he built, with his hands. The Navy taught me otherwise. Worth is what you're calm enough to walk away from. Nobody in town knows what I used to do. That was on purpose.
We are not backing down from this!
Let's just keep our heads cool. This isn't over, Marcus.
I didn't argue! Arguing was never the point!
I didn't argue.
You used to be somebody! Now you're just a mechanic. I wasn't expecting Reggie to bring backup. You need to leave, Marcus. Reggie and his brothers are here. So you understand, this isn't a discussion anymore.
Denise, I'm here for my daughter's cleats. That's all.
Denise told us you like to intimidate her.
We're here to make sure that stops. I felt something I hadn't felt in years, and didn't like feeling again.
I used to believe a man could measure his worth by what he built with his hands. 12 years in, and the Navy taught me otherwise. It taught me that worth is measured by what you can stay calm enough to walk away from. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. And if stories like this move you, consider subscribing. It helps more than you'd think. My name's Marcus Odom, 41 years old. Retired Chief Special Warfare Operator, 6 deployments, and for the last 3 years, a man who fixes transmissions. Out of a 2-bay garage on the edge of Camden. Heights instead of running combat missions. Nobody in this town knows what I used to do. That was on purpose. When I got out, I didn't want to be the guy with the stories. I wanted to be the guy who showed up on time and didn't yell at his kid. My ex-wife, Denise, never understood that decision. She married a version of me that came home in dress blues with medals and a signing bonus for re-enlistment. She divorced the version that came home quiet, uninterested in medals, wanting nothing more than Saturday morning pancakes with our daughter, Aaliyah. You used to be somebody, she told me at the settlement hearing. Now you're just a mechanic. I didn't argue. Arguing was never the point. The trouble started 3 weeks ago, over a soccer schedule. Aaliyah's regional tournament fell on my weekend, and Denise decided, without asking, that her new boyfriend, Reggie, was going to step in and coach the team through it, which meant Aaliyah wouldn't be coming to me at all. I called. Denise didn't answer. I texted. Nothing. So I did what any father would do. I showed up at her place on Thursday evening, calm, unarmed except for the receipt from Aaliyah's cleats I'd bought her, ready to have a conversation like adults. I wasn't expecting Reggie to bring backup. 4 of them stood in Denise's driveway when I pulled in. Reggie and 3 men I didn't recognize, arms crossed, jaws set, in that particular way men set their jaws when they've rehearsed looking dangerous in a mirror. Denise stood in front of them in a cream blouse, arms folded, chin lifted like she'd finally found the leverage she'd been missing for 3 years. You need to leave, Marcus, she said. Reggie and his brothers are here, so you understand this. Isn't a discussion anymore. I looked at the 4 of them. Landscapers, maybe? Big through the shoulders from labor, not from training. Nervous energy, shifting weight. The kind of men who'd never had to hold still under pressure in their lives. I felt something in my chest that I hadn't felt in years and didn't like feeling again. The quiet, clinical calm that used to mean somebody's night was about to go very badly. I didn't move toward them. I didn't raise my voice. Denise, I said, I'm here for my daughter's cleats and to talk about Saturday. That's all. That's not what this is anymore, Reggie said, stepping forward, chest out. Denise's face changed. Just slightly. Just enough that I caught it. She'd never told him. Whatever image she'd built of me in Reggie's mind, it wasn't the truth. It was something easier to be angry at. One of the brothers took a half step closer, testing me the way young dogs test an older one. "Marcus," Denise said, and her voice cracked just slightly on my name. "Please, just go, before this gets out of hand." I looked past her, toward the house, where I could see Aaliyah's silhouette in the upstairs window, watching everything. And that's when I understood this wasn't about the soccer schedule at all. I've stood in rooms where the wrong word could get people killed. I've learned to read a threat down to the half-second before it becomes real. So when I looked past Denise's shoulder and saw Aaliyah's silhouette in that window, I understood something Reggie and his brothers never could. The only person in that driveway who actually mattered to me wasn't standing in front of me at all. She was 12 years old, watching her father get surrounded in a stranger's driveway, and whatever happened in the next 60 seconds was going to live in her memory for the rest of her life. So I made a decision Reggie would never understand, and Denise wouldn't understand for a while longer. I sat down, right there, on the tailgate of my truck, in the middle of their little show of force. I sat down and folded my hands. "What are you doing?" Reggie said. The confidence in his voice had a crack in it now. He'd expected me to push back, maybe grab the smallest brother by the collar, give him a story to tell at Thanksgiving for the next decade. Instead, I'd taken the wind out of the whole performance by simply refusing to perform back. "I'm waiting," I said, "for somebody to tell me what we're actually doing here. Because right now, 4 grown men are standing in a driveway trying to scare a man who just wants to bring his daughter her cleats. That doesn't sound like protecting Denise to me. That sounds like something you'll all feel a little embarrassed about tomorrow." Nobody moved. Denise's arms had come uncrossed. She was looking at me the way she used to look at me the first year we were married, like she was trying to remember which version of me she was actually talking to. "You don't get to be calm right now," she said. But there wasn't much heat left in it. "You don't get to make me the unreasonable one." "I'm not trying to," I said. "I'm trying to understand why 4 men needed to show up for a conversation about soccer." Reggie's youngest brother, the one who'd taken that half step earlier, shifted his weight again, looking between Reggie and Denise like he was starting to do the math I'd already done. He was maybe 25. He had the look of a man who'd been told a story about a controlling ex-husband and had shown up, ready to be a hero in it, only to find the villain sitting quietly on a tailgate asking reasonable questions. "I served 12 years in the Navy," I said. 6 deployments. I retired 3 years ago, and I've spent every day since trying to be a person my daughter isn't afraid of. I've never raised my voice at Denise in front of Aaliyah. I've never missed a support payment. I showed up tonight because my daughter's tournament is on my weekend and nobody would return my calls. That's the whole story. I watched it land on all 4 of their faces differently. The brothers looked at each other. Reggie looked at Denise, and for the first time that evening, so did I. Not with anger, just with something quieter and sadder. The recognition of how far apart 2 people can drift while still technically knowing each other. "Is that true?" Reggie asked her. "The Navy thing?" Denise didn't answer immediately. When she did, her voice had lost its edge entirely. "He doesn't talk about it," she said. "He never talked about it, even when we were married. I used to think it meant he didn't trust me with it." "It wasn't about trust," I said. And this part surprised me even as I said it, because I hadn't planned on saying it at all. It was about not wanting Aaliyah to grow up thinking her father was defined by what he used to survive. I wanted her to know me as the guy who makes pancakes, not the guy with medals in a box in the garage. The oldest brother, quiet until now, arms still crossed but looser somehow, spoke for the first time. "Man, I got a cousin who did 2 tours in Afghanistan. Wouldn't talk about it either. Not once. Not to nobody." Something shifted in the driveway. Not dramatically. Nobody hugged. Nobody apologized with tears. But the temperature of the whole scene dropped by 20 degrees. 4 men who'd walked out, ready to enforce a story, stood there instead, recalculating who the story was actually about. I think, Reggie said slowly, we made a mistake tonight. It was Denise who broke first. She sat down on the porch step, put her face in her hands for a second, and when she looked up, she looked tired in a way I recognized, the specific exhaustion of a person who's been carrying a version of events that's finally too heavy to hold anymore. I told myself you were the villain because it was easier, she said quietly. Easier than admitting I left, because I didn't know how to compete with a version of you I never got to meet, the one who did all those things. I felt like I married half a person, and I resented you for keeping the other half locked away, even after I stopped being the one you'd share it with. I didn't have a clean answer for that. I still don't, if I'm honest. Some doors don't reopen just because someone finally asks the right question. I kept it locked away because I didn't want it to be who I was, I said. I still don't, but I hear you. Are you guys done fighting? She asked, in that flat, no-nonsense tone only a 12-year-old can manage. We weren't fighting, baby, Denise said, wiping her face quickly. We were talking. It looked like fighting from up there. It's over now, I said, and I meant it in more ways than one. Reggie walked over, hand extended, something sheepish and genuine in his face. I'm sorry, man. I acted on half a story, and I should have known better than to bring my brothers into something. That wasn't mine to referee. I shook his hand. Not because I'd forgotten the last 20 minutes, but because holding on to it wouldn't get me anything I actually wanted, which was simple. A daughter who got to go to her tournament, and a Saturday that didn't get eaten by adult pride. Tournaments this weekend, I said to Denise. I'd like to be there. All of us, if that's not too strange. She looked at Reggie, who nodded before she even finished the question in her eyes. I think Alia would like that, Denise said. I think I would too. I drove home that night without the anger I'd expected to carry, and without the vindication either. What I carried instead was something closer to relief. The specific relief of a man who spent years being ready for a fight and finally got to prove, to himself more than anyone standing in that driveway, that the strongest thing he had left to offer his daughter wasn't the training in his hands. It was the restraint in his mouth. Saturday came. Alia scored twice. Denise sat 2 seats down from me on the bleachers, and somewhere in the second half, without either of us planning it, we ended up laughing about the ridiculous way her cleats always came untied at the worst possible moment, the same way they had since she was 7. Reggie brought his youngest brother along. The kid gave me an awkward nod from the sideline. The universal signal between men for we're good now. I nodded back. I never told any of them what those 12 years actually looked like. Not in detail. Some stories aren't meant to be evidence in an argument. Some things you carry quietly, not because you're hiding them, but because you've decided who you want to be louder than your history. If this story meant something to you, tell me about it in the comments. I always read them. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing to Adam's Stories. There's more where this came from.